I'm here today in the Wilkinson building to visit Professor Claudia Gunsch and her team associated with the NSF-funded Engineering Research Center, Premier, which is focused on precision engineering of the microbiome. Our experiences with the microbiome may be through the yogurts we eat and the probiotics that are included, or maybe from a pandemic where we were fearful of the detrimental impacts of viruses. This center is focused on developing technologies that will enhance the beneficial impacts of the microbiome while looking at the negative impacts and minimizing them, all to improve public health. I'm Jerry Lynch, the Vinnick Dean of Engineering, and it'll be my honor to share with you the exciting work that Professor Gunsch and her team in Premier are working on with you today. Hey, Claudia.
Hey, Jerry.
Thanks for having me. Shall we go inside?
Sure.
Claudia, thank you so much for hosting me in your lab. It's a real pleasure for me to be here, particularly because you are quite famous for the microbiome. Maybe you can start by explaining what is the microbiome and why it is important.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the microbiome is the assembly of microbes that are in a particular environment. So in this particular space, we may think of the microbes that are in the air that we're breathing, the microbes that are on the surface, but also microbes that might be present on our hands. Each of those microbes plays an important role in from an ecological perspective.
Are there some examples that lay people would be familiar with that are examples of the microbiome that are helping people?
Yeah, so organisms that are associated with fermented foods have received a lot of attention as beneficial towards human health. And so these would be organisms, for instance, that you find in yogurt or in kombucha. Organisms that are associated with negative health effects would be pathogens. And so these are organisms, for instance, when you have strep throat, that may cause you to go to the doctor to receive antibiotics. But these could also be organisms such as molds that are associated with a leak, a chronic leak that you may have in your house.
Here at Duke, we're really lucky to have a National Science Foundation Engineering Research Center called Premier. Can you share a little bit about what is Premier?
Premier is the NSF Engineering Research Center for Precision Microbiome Engineering. And the core of the work that we do is thinking about microbes as allies to human health. When we think about microbes in our society, we often tend to focus on those negative organisms, those that create disease. And so as a result, we've really gone to great lengths to sanitize our environments. And so we go in, put Clorox, we clean those environments, and we remove all of the organisms. But we know that creating these microbial deserts, in fact, creates a negative health effect. An example of that is we know if a child is given an antibiotic at an early age before their microbiome has really developed, that this could have deleterious effects in the long run. They may develop asthma or other types of diseases. And so this is really what we are doing within Premier, is thinking about the microbiome holistically, to think about what are the microbes that we want to decrease abundance of in the built environments, but also those that we want to augment in those particular spaces.
What are some of the technologies that the center is developing that's going to transform how we think and how we coexist with the microbiome?
One of the big challenges when we come to microbiome engineering or thinking about microbiome is we don't really know who is there. We don't know the pathogens from the beneficial organisms, and we don't have the ways to monitor that. So one of the aspects of the work that we're doing is working on developing sensors. And we can think about molds, for instance, and thinking about, are there ways to build arrays of sensors to detect particular organisms that are present? We are also thinking about some of the more cutting-edge synthetic biological applications, similar to what we are developing for medical applications, where we may be able to go in and in a targeted way doing some type of gene editing that will remove the pathogenic features of the microbes.
That profile of the center sounds very ambitious. Certainly, it will take a number of collaborators. Can you share who you're collaborating with to drive the success of the center forward?
Absolutely. The work cannot be done in isolation and really requires a convergent approach to bring together a team to answer these questions. Premier is built on a collaboration across 5 institutions. Duke is the headquarter institution, and we collaborate with partners at North Carolina A&T, University of North Carolina at Charlotte, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and North Carolina State University. We really bring together expertise in engineering, evolution, microbial ecology, societal and ethical implications, as well as bioinformatics to help solve these challenges.
For us to be successful with the center, clearly we're going to have to translate the discoveries we're making in the center to practice. Do you have external partners you're working with to help in the translational aspects of the center's work?
Yes, absolutely. The work that we do, at the end of the day, we don't want it to just live in a test tube or a petri dish on our benches. We want it to be translated into society to maximize the impact. And so we have an industry advisory board with whom we meet that advises us on what are some of the trends of the industry and provides a sounding board for us. Some of the work that we're doing with our partners is thinking about existing technologies and if those technologies may have application out of their home domain. So for instance, there's a number of technologies that have been developed for food safety to ensure that our food supply meets a certain standard. We are looking at those same technologies and seeing if we might be able to adapt those for the built environment and really painting that landscape for the built environment.
So, using the relationships you have with external partners to drive innovation in the center.
Yes.
Fantastic. Today, when we're training students about the deployment of technology, we're often asking our students to think about the ethical implications of their work. Will the center focus on ethics and social responsibility around these technologies that will modify the microbiome?
We know that the microbiome plays a very important role in human health, immune development. And by tinkering with the microbiome, we have the potential to have a very deleterious effect on human health. And so we really need to be very careful about ensuring that when we study these questions, that we are considering the ethical implications of this work. So this is an important piece of what we do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here and so generously sharing the great science and technology development you're doing here at Duke, as well as part of this larger engineering research center. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. When you're not here in the lab doing all this great science, what do you like to do on the weekends?
So I have 3 children, and they're all competitive athletes. And so I spend a lot of time particularly shuttling my kids to baseball and softball. I just love seeing them interact with their teammates. And when there are those successful moments, such as home runs, that's just a warming feeling.